Wow. Wow. Thorough drubbing. But again, credit to Leeds. And thank you for reminding Chelsea that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Chelsea traveled to Ellen Road and come away 3-0 losers. Let's get into it.
And blue is the colour. Essien! Drogba! Lampard! That could be the
championship! Greetings! Welcome back to Couch Critic with me, Dennis P, for what is your Chelsea match review show, but more specifically a tactical synopsis of Chelsea's performance at Ellen Road versus Leeds United. But ladies, gentlemen, before I get into all that, you know what to do. We're at the beginning of the season, man. It's 3 games in. You know, I need you guys to hit that likes button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification button. The more likes we get, the more people get to see this video, and the happier I'll be in the end, you know? And you already know I have a sponsor for the show. They'll be happy too if you hit that like button. They go by the name of Major League Socks. And fellas, if you ever want to walk in the footsteps of greatness, you know what to do. Just hit them up. The link will be in the description. Okay, so Chelsea traveled to Ellen Road to face Leeds United and came away 3-0 losers. And to be honest with you guys, that scoreline does not flatter Leeds in no way. They basically played us off the pitch from minute 1 to minute 90. They had the right intensity. They played with the right sort of aggression and passion. They wanted the game more than we did. And it showed in the scoreline and it showed on the pitch too. There was nothing retainable from this performance from Chelsea. And, you know, this is the type of performance that you don't want to see on the backs of a game like Spurs, where, you know, we came out and we played with the right sort of aggression. We met the intensity of the match and, you know, deservedly should have won it. But, you know, to come back the next match against Leeds, another rival, another club rival, and not have the intensity levels high, you know, the ability to, you know, compete, the compete levels extremely high, you know, it's just really disappointing. So what we're going to do in this one, this is going to be a really short video just because I'm really just trying to like still, you know, digest what I saw, you know, twice today because I had to rewatch it because I just could not understand what I was seeing the first time. So I had to rewatch it. But what we're going to be focusing on is Chelsea's midfield. We're going to be looking at the work rate of this club, the pace of this club, and the ability to break presses and whatnot. We're also going to be looking at Edouard Mendy because I think it's time that we have a discussion about him. Now, whether you have Bielsa as a manager or Marsh, one thing is for certain, Leeds United are going to press. They're going to bring intensity to the match. They're going to be playing at a frenetic pace. And Thomas Tuchel would have known this from his previous matches with, you know, Leeds United, whether it be with Bielsa or with Marsh as well. And for whatever reason, we just did not come out of the gates with the right sort of intensity and tempo. And for that reason and that reason alone, I think Chelsea got played off the pitch. We just could not come to grips with the tempo of the match. It's just been some time now since I've seen Chelsea be able to go through the gears and like up their tempo, up their rhythm, play it at a pace that's faster than the opponent. Like we usually try and like, you know, play this slow, lethargic build-up, you know, and sort of like play a more pragmatic approach to possession game. And I think that this is the one game that it caught up to us because, as I said, Leeds love to press. They have no problem with pressing you from minute 1 to minute 90. And if you do not match that intensity level, if you're not ready to play 1-2 touch passes all over the pitch, you're going to be exposed. And, you know, Chelsea just got exposed all over the pitch, not just because they weren't moving the ball quickly enough, but also because they just did not have the strength to deal with an aggressive team. You know, anytime that we tried to go anywhere outside of like Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the wide right position, anywhere else on the pitch, we're getting beat. For me, if you're going to be contending for like titles, you're going to be contending for like cups, you know, going deep in the Champions League and stuff like that, you have to show the ability to go through the gears. You know, if you want to play the game at gear 4 and the one team's playing it at gear 2, you know, you have to be able to up your gears to get to gear 2 and then exceed it. That's how you win these matches. You can't expect Leeds, who make a career out of just pressing teams and playing at this high tempo, to play at your pace. I mean, they're the home team. They're looking to go through the games. They're looking to play the game with an intensity level that, you know, we can't match. And, you know, obviously we had some injuries today. We didn't have Conte. We didn't have Kovacic in that midfield. And that was met with, you know, Ruben Loftus-Cheek playing that wide right midfielder wingback role. And then we also had Conor Gallagher come into the game. And, you know, I'm not really one to rag on a guy. Like, I really think that Conor Gallagher has some things that he can offer a football team, but I'm sorry, like the things that the high level of football that we're trying to play right now, I just don't think that he is equipped for it, especially in that number 6 role. Ultimately, what you want to see is, 1-2 touch passes. When you see a team that's really aggressive, it's either you use your strength and physicality to hold off the press and look for, the outlet ball, or you move it really quickly before they get there. And for whatever reason, Chelsea just could not do anything that resembled any of the two things that I just spoke on there. They were not strong enough on the ball. Every time that Leeds came, they pressed with 2. They pressed the ball with 2 and gave Chelsea no space to think. Overall, what I had a problem with today was just Chelsea not being able to live with the intensity of their press, and like to be a press resistant team, which is something that I think Chelsea and Thomas Tuchel, like to hang their hat on, a team that is organize and understand how to break teams down, break down the team's press, move the ball quickly, know where the outlets are. We just did not do that anywhere near as well as we could have today. And I think it has a lot to do with the way we are trying to play right now. Like, obviously Chelsea are playing with a 3 at the back when they're defending and 2 wing backs, but when we're attacking, we're trying to play with a 4 at the back. Ultimately, what I think we should be doing is playing a little bit more compact, especially if we're trying to move the ball quickly, because with the team spread so thin, and Leeds United just pure, like there's this teaming in, at full pace, full tilt, not worried about whether or not they're going to be called for fouls or anything like that. They're just putting a lot of pressure on the ball. We need to be a little bit more compact so that when we're passing the ball, the outlets are right there. Boom, boom. Oh, Jorginho's on the ball. Oh, here's Conor Gallagher. Quick. Oh, there's Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The fact that the pitch was so expansive, and we weren't quick in our actions to either dribble pass, hold it up, or lay it off. It became very difficult for Chelsea to move the ball 1-2 touch passes. And I think that's the only way to effectively break an aggressive press. We made the pitch really big, but as soon as we got like 2 men teaming in on the ball, the option to go was always to go back. It was never to find somebody on the half turn. It was never to try and get somebody into the spaces and whatnot. And, we just could not turn. Every time we got faced with the ball coming at us with our back to their goal, it just went right back to the defense because we didn't have the confidence to turn. Rightfully so. Obviously, they're very aggressive, but we also didn't have any outlets that would have led to us to get on the half turn and and break the press that way. So for me, it was a plethora of problems. Obviously, strength being a problem, recognition in that new shape where we're playing with 4 at the back and not knowing where the angles are where we can break their press. Thought that was a problem. I also thought that we just weren't really sharp. I mean, a part of that is just Leeds. Like, they're very, very good in their press sequences, and they knew exactly when to send 2 to 1 and crowd even Jorginho at times, or Ruben Loftus-Cheek at times, not allowing them any space to do anything but go right back to the defense. And the more times you do that, the harder it is to get into a rhythm of the game, and the harder it is to establish what you want to do on the football pitch. And once you get to minute 64, 65, 66, where you still haven't been able to effectively break their press and show them that, like, if you're going to be this aggressive, you're going to be punished, then the problems are there to behold. We just haven't been able to show teams that we can play at pace, and we haven't been able to show teams that, like, if we start the game slow, we're just going to keep on gearing up, going faster, and find that new level that they can't live with. It's either we start the game slow and we stay there, or we just get overrun. And unfortunately, it was the latter today. We got on an overrun, and credit to Leeds. Took it right to us and won the game. Now, this is just going to be real quick on the midfield. I really think that, and I'm just getting really frustrated after every match, people looking for scapegoats, and usually it's our midfield, and number 1 candidate, public enemy number 1 is always Jorginho. And of course, I'm the first person to admit that guy has deficiencies in this game. Like, technically, when you're looking for somebody to make a foul or even just win a tackle, technically he's just not sound. He's always found flat-footed, and these are just not things that you want in somebody in the middle of the pitch, where you have to protect it. You have to protect the middle of the pitch, right? I'm just sick of this narrative now that, like, everything that is bad about Chelsea is running through Jorginho, and as soon as we get Jorginho out of the side, this team's going to play this fluid, free-throwing football. It's not like Jorginho plays every game. Like, let's face it, he does not play every game. he's the most reliable midfielder based on the fact that he's available. Like Kovacic is out, Kante's out. But even when we played and we tried to play with those two in the middle of the pitch, we haven't had better games. So you can't tell me that the problem is coming down to the fact that Jorginho's on the pitch all the time. Granted, I do agree when we're being pressed, and like they're running at us with pace and whatnot on the counters, he can't be a bit of a liability there. But I don't think that the problem is holistically down to that. But having said that, what I saw today, man, it just left a lot to be desired today. It really, really did. When you look at what you need from your midfield in terms of like trying to build an attack, being press resistant, we didn't get anything of the sort from Conor Gallagher. He was not very comfortable with being pressed. And when you're in the middle of the pitch, you need somebody that is, when he's on the ball, he's very composed, can pick pass, and just keep things ticking over. He just does not have that ability. Like I think he passed the ball somewhere in around the range of like 70% today, and that in your midfield, like when you're a possession-based team, that is just atrocious. I'm sure that's why it led to him being moved further up the pitch and Ruben dropping back into the midfield, just because we just could not really string together 2-3 passes because they were coming at us at such a frenetic pace. I mean, a lot of the time when you talk to Chelsea folk, when we talk about like what we need to do, it's always about what we have to do offensively and why we're not threading balls through and we're not picking passes and we're not doing this and we're doing that. And I think the game's played at both ends. Like you can have somebody that is offensively aware, but if he's not defensively aware as well, especially in the middle of the pitch, it's of no value to you, because as soon as you get through and you score one goal, you're conceding another two at the other end, right? So for me, it's about balance in the midfield. And right now we don't have balance in the midfield. We just don't. We don't have anyone that is offensively talented enough to pick locks for us. And we don't have anyone that is defensively sound enough to just like absorb pressure, break play up, and be consistently relied upon. And that's the problem with this midfield right now. We have a bunch of players that are eights traditionally, that are playing in deeper roles, that have more responsibilities, and they're not able to play those roles. These are just the deficiencies that we have in the squad that I see time and time again. Until we can get a more balanced midfield where we have somebody that is not only defensively aware, but also very good going forward and, responsible. We can't play with a double six that is disjointed anymore. It's just, we need to have three midfielders in there if we're going to be playing the style of play that we are right now. And granted, I understand that what we're seeing right now is Mason Mount is the third midfielder. He's the guy that's trying to make up the midfield three to give us a little bit more, cohesiveness in the middle. But, he was lost all game. Like, I don't think that guy had one intelligent move the entire game, that whether it be offensively or defensively, he was just lost. I think Mason Mount is being over-relied on to play the style of football that is above what his level is. Like, it's not to say that he's a bad player, but we're asking so much of this guy, and it's just spreading him thin. We're asking him to, be cohesive and break up play and press the ball and be the offensive, the offensive thinker. We want him to be a goal scorer. We want him to be our box-to-box midfield. Like, all of these things we're asking of him. And like, the reason why he's so irreplaceable right now is the fact that nobody else could give you that in this side. Nobody. But what he's giving you is not at a high enough level. Like, he's not offensively like a thinker. He's not a guy that can recognize when somebody has space in behind and to thread the ball through. He usually is a guy that has his head down and is looking around and tries to fire off a shot here and there and not looking for better options. Decision making poor. I don't want to give too much negativity towards a player like Mason Mount who gives so much to this team, but I mean, we're just overly reliant on a guy that can't provide the style of football that we need right now in terms of what we need to unlock teams in the final third. So again, just a disjointed midfield, and something that I think we need to be addressed, but I don't know if this is the year to do it. I think that we have to weather the storm with Kante, Kovacic, Jorginho, Mason Mount, Ruben, and perhaps Conor Gallagher. I'm not really quite certain he's a guy that can fit in this particular setup, but we're going to have to weather that storm and try and address it again in the summer if we do not get Frankie de Jong this summer. Where do you start with Edouard Mendy? I mean, I love his story. I think that the story of, coming from, such a low tier of football, working all the way up to Terrace, and then finally finding his way to Chelsea is a remarkable story, especially when you consider that he's also been adorned with the Champions League. He's won Senegal, AFCON. It's a beautiful, feel good story. But I mean, if I'm just judging performances right now, and that's essentially what I do not hold any bias for any player. I do not have any agendas. I'm all about Chelsea. So if I see a good performance, I have no problem acknowledging it. And if you see a bad performance, you're gonna hear it from me. That's just how I do it. I don't I don't put names on the back of my shirt, after week 1 or whatever. Like, I'm very much about the badge, 100%. So, when you look at like Mendy now, and you consider, even just his 2022, like from the beginning of 2022 till now, I don't think we're seeing the same keeper, the same keeper that we saw that, stopped us to the Champions League. And, his ability to like command the area is highly, highly questionable right now. And even beyond that, like, when teams press us and we're trying to be, playing out from the back right now, that guy's become more and more of a liability, like with each passing game. I just can't trust this guy in possession. And every time, ball to feet, like when we're trying to keep it on the carpet to keep things, 1-2 touch, and he's passing it. It's like always a lofty pass that guys have to get in control, bring it down, and then play it on. And when you're being pressed relentlessly, as Leeds are doing, it's these types of things that make things disjointed. It's not so much about like, dwelling on the ball too long. It's the fact that you have to make accurate passes, quick, accurate passes. And he's just not capable of doing that. Like, his only ball, the only ball that he was able to find with any sort of real success was that outlet ball the only ball that he was able to find with any sort of success was that outlet ball to Ruben Loftus-Cheek off the right in the first half. Every time the ball went back to him, it just felt like an unnerving moment where you think, oh, is he going to make the right decision? Is he going to pass the ball accurately? Is he going to keep the ball on the ground so that when, the receiver gets it, he's not, crowded for space and has no time on the ball to make an accurate pass to break the press? These are the types of things that I looked for when I'm watching performances. It's like, what is he doing to help us build our football, help us play our football? And when we're a possession-based team and you have a goalie that is not very good in possession and thinks he's Ronaldinho, it's these types of errors, like the error for the first goal, that, just debilitating for the squad. But when I speak of Mendy, I want to see him be more of a commanding presence in the box. When aerial duels are coming in from corners, I want to see him be safer in possession and not trying to do these Cruyff turns in his own box or whatever, thing like that. And ultimately, I think that now might be a time to maybe give Kepa another look. Fair is fair, man. If we're rewarding on meritocracy, I haven't seen anything from Mendy in 2022 that would lead me to believe that he is, odds on, like, first choice #1 keeper right now. He's just made too many errors. He's caught in possession too often, and his alt balls, his ability to like play possession-based football is just not very good. And like, this is a real talk right now. I'm not trying to I don't hold any favorites with anybody right now. I'm just looking at what I see on the pitch right now. And when I look at Mendy, I don't see a guy that is comfortable in possession. Teams are going to know how to press us from the back and where to apply the pressure. And I'm not sure if it falls to Mendy, if he's going to handle it correctly. But I do think I'm going to wrap it up there. Wow, what a disappointing game. Third game into the season when you feel like we should be, starting to find our football, find our legs and stuff like that. You turn in a performance like that against like a bitter, club rival like, Leeds United. Oh, man. And I haven't even really spoken on some of the worst points of the game right now. Like, the blunted attack, the fact that Kai Havertz, man, I don't know what he offers anymore. I really do not know what he offers. If somebody knows, please tell me. Like, leave it in the comments. I will respond. I don't know what he offers anymore, especially in that number 9 position. Yeah, he was again a waif, not strong enough on the ball, and wasteful in possession, just giving away possession every time. And, you know, obviously he worked hard. He pressed and worked hard. But, like, again, that you have to give me more. You know, you're playing at Chelsea right now. You know, like, you just running about in the pitch and putting yourself about is not enough anymore. You have to be clinical when you're in the box. You have to make good decisions when in possession, especially in that position that you're in. And you have to take your opportunities, man, when they come to you, you know, and see the pitch, survey the pitch, lay it off to somebody that's in a better position to you. It's like having the decision-making of, you know, top professional. You know, that's what we expect from you. That's what we expect from Kai Havertz, and we're not getting. I mean, same could be said for Mason Mount, which I already spoke on. I think that he's just being spread thin. We're asking a lot of this young man, and, you know, it's beyond what he's capable of doing. No fault of his own. It's just he's the only guy that can give us that. But again, it's not just the young players that are faltering right now. Like, what in the world was Koulibaly doing today? Like, this is somebody I've lauded as one of the great defenders of our game right now. And, you know, a cynical foul for the first yellow, and unnecessary. I don't know if he needed to do that there. He had cover. Gives away a yellow, and then 3-0 at the 85th minute. What are you trying to defend right now? Why are you putting yourself at risk to get second yellow at this point? Like, it's almost seemed like you were looking to miss the next game. It's like you wanted to be out for the next game. You know, it makes no sense to me why you put in the tackle there, and why you're pulling somebody back when the game's pretty much done. You know, like, there's not really much to fight for there to warrant a second yellow. Anyhow, we move on. We got Leicester next, and, you know, they've been in fits and starts themselves. You know, not in the best bit of form. Obviously, Fofana, you know, sitting in the stands last game, dreaming about Chelsea. I would love to see him come. Not for overs, obviously, but it's going to be an interesting game next week. Not only because of the Fofana thing, but also because Thomas Tuchel's likely not going to be involved in that match. So I don't know who any of his assistants are. So one of them are going to have to come on and lead the line for us, or be our touchline coach. And it's going to be, you know, a very, very difficult match, no doubt about it. The backdrop of Fofana, and, you know, obviously without having Tuchel, you know, orchestrate what it is we're trying to do out there, it's going to be very, very difficult, especially due to the fact that we don't score enough goals. You know, we just don't create and score enough goals. And for that reason, this becomes a very, very tricky match. You definitely don't want to lose it. You definitely have to take points. And that's definitely not assured, especially when you see the effort that you put in today. You know, so I'm of the opinion that if Chelsea are going to be successful going forward, they have to recognize, you know, that they have to work hard. You're not a team that can rely on your talent. I'm just sorry, Chelsea, you cannot rely solely on your talent to get you through matches anymore. You have to match the energy and intensity of all of your opponents and hope that you can outwork them in order to achieve the successes that we have in the past. Because on current form, we just don't have the talent to just, you know, sleepwalk through matches and come out the victors. We have to work extremely hard, and I'm sure Thomas Tuchel will be preaching that to the boys. But fellas, enough of this, man. I can't believe I spent so much time talking about such a disappointing performance. You know what to do, though, man. Keep the blue flag flying high, and up the Chelsea. Peace.